Good evening. Today is the 19th of May, about 8:35 p.m. here in New York, and we will be starting our first session of the SoapUI class. My name is Irfan, and I will be your trainer, and I will be with you for the next 8 sessions. Let me talk a little bit about how we're going to be conducting this course. This is an 4 weeks course. We'll be doing 8 sessions. Each session is going to be 2 hours long, and we'll be meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays between the hours of 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will be learning SoapUI, which is a tool for doing your web service testing. Now, what are we going to be covering as a part of this course is for you to go here and take a look at it, because basically what you would be seeing here is everything what we will be covering as a part of this course. Now, a lot of people in the past have taken a course with us, so you know, you are not new to the format of TrainingRite, meaning that we provide the training, which is not just the online training, but we also give you videos from our previous batches. So if you have taken any course with us in the past, then you know that we not only give you the videos of just one batch, but more than a couple of batches of videos. The reason it is done is so that you could see a variety. So of course, in your leisure time, feel free to go and watch those videos and keep yourself abreast of what we will be covering. So it's not going to be totally identical of what we have covered in the previous session. So every batch we try to bring a little variety to it. So you will see that we will be testing some new web services. Now, students in the past, they have a high rate of success, provided you follow what we ask you to do. And one of the most important thing that I want to share with you, and that is if you want to gauge yourself, if you want to see your performance, like how you're doing as a part of this course, as a part of learning, I would say that try and complete the assignments. We will give you about 8 assignments. They're going to be 8 sessions, and at the tail end of the session, I will give you an assignment. So there are going to be 8 assignments. Now, the difference between success and failure, as far as what you're going to be taking away as a part of this training, is can be measured through your assignments. If you find yourself submitting the assignments, then think that you are learning. Otherwise, these videos or these sessions gives you a very good sort of like a confidence that you are learning it, but unless and until you put your hands on and come up with those exercises, complete those exercises. I, for one, from my little over 20 years of experience, I can tell you that it's going to be very difficult for you to get everything out of it just watching the videos. You have to do things hands-on, meaning practical work is what is needed. Now, what are we going to be covering as a part of this course? I'm not going to read these items here. As you can see, these bullet items, I'm not going to read that for you. That's for your leisure reading. But I would just tell you that SoapUI comes from SoapUI is a tool that is used for web service testing, and it comes from a company called SmartBear. So SmartBear has tons of tools, software testing tools, and also some of the tools that are used by developers as well. So this company is a very, very popular company. They have come out with many tools, and their tools enjoy a huge market share. So your investment of your time and money is not going to be wasted, or it's not that you're going to be trying these things out, because SoapUI as a tool has been around for at least 5-6 years now, and probably a little more than that. But I, for one, have been using it for almost like 6 years now. And I can tell you that if you learn and learn it good, you have a bright future, only because this tool is very extensively being used in the industry today. Now, how much of this tool are we going to be learning? Is this going to be a beginner's course? Is this going to be an intermediate level course? Is it going to be an advanced level course? Don't be surprised if I say that it's going to be all of this, meaning that the first couple of days you will find that I would be covering sort of like a beginner's level. Now, starting from day 3 onwards, it's going to move on to sort of like an intermediate level. And then once we get to like day 5 and day 6 onwards, it is going to turn into an advanced level course. Now, everybody can take away something from this course. Beginners, meaning somebody who doesn't have automation experience, meaning they have not done any programming in their previous life, and how this course is going to help for those folks. Well, there are two things there are two types of jobs as far as SoapUI tool is concerned. Now, SoapUI comes as an open source and as a pro version. So the pro version, of course, is a licensed tool. The licensing fee is not crazy, unlike QTP, where you just have to, give your limbs, to buy that. It's nothing like that. You're not paying $10,000 to get a license of this tool. The license for this tool is about $400, I would say. So you can use the pro version. You could buy the pro version for $400, and then you could use it. Now, as far as you students are concerned, I will show you as how we could be downloading and using both the versions, and you can keep extending the the pro version, so you can keep using it. As long as it is in the evaluation period, you can keep using it. So it's going to expire after 15 days, but I will share with you a way to keep extending it. My suggestion is, if you can buy, I would say go ahead and purchase this tool, because SmartBear is an excellent company. Their tools are very sophisticated, cutting edge tools. So I would say that if your company should definitely invest in this particular tool and then buy licenses for it. But if you are a student, if you are learning, then I can understand you not being able to come up with that extra money. So I will help you out. I'll show you as how to use this software past the evaluation period, because we will be talking about something like VMware, wherein you could install it as many number of times. Well, that's about the tool. In today's class, in fact, not just today's class, every class we're going to be meeting for 2 hours. So on day 1, you would find me doing a lot of talking. The reason for that is I just have to lay out a plot. I just have to tell you where we are heading to when you take this course. What is going to be the return on your investment when you make your investment of your time and money as far as this course is concerned? What do you expect to get in return? So we'll be discussing all that, and then I will also start by explaining you about what different types of web services we would be testing. Again, you might have heard about XML-based web services, and you might have also heard about REST web services. So we will shed some light on these 2 different types of web services, and how we could be using the tool to test these web services. So we'll be spending some time on that. Now, for those of you folks who have already registered, already paid, and we might have already set up the accounts for you folks, and we have shared the videos. So what I would strongly recommend is if you have time, if you're not like tied up, then I would say that watch these videos before you come to the session. What that is going to do is that is going to make it a little bit easy for you to ask questions. This is going to be an interactive session, meaning that I just need not be talking. Of course, if you have questions, you could be asking me those questions. And for now, I have muted you all, meaning if you're singing in your living room, we are not hearing you, right? Unless you want to be heard. If you meaning if you have a question, if you want to ask me, you could be yelling at the computer or screaming at it, but we won't be able to hear because I have muted you. What if you want it to be heard, meaning that you have a question and you want me to hear your question? I can do that provided you let me know that you have a question. So the way you can let me know is either you could type your question in that chat box and then I could read it. If I'm in the middle of something, I'll finish my thought and I will address that question. And never in my online, about 6 years of online training that we have been providing, I can almost say that I am proud to share this information. I have never, almost never ignored any question from any of the students. I take pride in answering your questions. I'll be honored if you ask questions, if you make it interactive. So feel free to ask questions, type your questions. If you don't feel like typing, your fingers are aching, you want to talk to me, do that. You click on that little palm like an icon on your control panel. Right on the top, you see that it's in the collapse mode right now. If you click on that, it will expand, it opens up, and you could click on that hand like sign. And when you do that, it's going to flash next to your name, and I know that you need some attention, and I will unmute you, and you could ask me a question. So that basically is how we are going to be interacting online while we meet here for the next 4 weeks. Now, I am positive you would have questions when we are not meeting, meaning you would think about it and you say that, I wish if the guy was here so that I could ask him. Not a problem, because you could ask me a question any time of the day. Of course, like you, I also have, my daily chores, my activities that I perform. I sleep, I drive, I work, but at the same time, I give, tremendous importance to you folks. So when you have a question, post it in the Google group. So we have forums, we have groups. So we'll be making you a member of those groups. So if you've already registered with us, then you have already been made a member of that. If not, then once you make the payment, we will make an account for you, and then we can share with you the groups. So if you type on groups.google.com, you will go to this area where we have these groups here. So it'll say my groups, and when you click on your machine, when you click on my groups, in my case, I am an admin for all of these groups. So I see business analyst, project management training, QTP, Ruby, Cucumber, Selenium, C#, right? All of these trainings. So in your case, you will be seeing TrainingRite SoapUI Web Service Testing. So you could go in that group, and if you have a question, then you can post that question. Now, I want you to please pay attention and please listen to me. There are thousands of students that I have trained in the past 6 years. if you say something here, that is going to go to all those 1,000 students. And it is not fair to those students who have taken these trainings and who are a member of this group that you, let's say, have a problem with some Selenium class. This is, first of all, this is SoapUI group. So your posting should be for SoapUI, right? And also your posting should be something that can all 1,000 people can enjoy it. So if you're saying that I have some technical issue, I have a problem wherein I cannot connect to Excel. So when you do something like that, that's, as you can see, a lot of people from the previous classes, they have these concerns. So you could go and you could even read what was going on with them. So I'm in an urgent need to parameterization of data from Excel to pass and record, and then you see that some people are there trying to help him or her, right? So you see that this person, he or she, they are saying that, okay, do this, you need to place this jar paths. Now at this moment, you might not make too much sense of all of these things because you're like, I don't know what he's talking about, what is all this? But as we progress in this course, I will be walking you through all of these things. The point that you should take away from this brief discussion about Google Groups is you will find a lot of help in here on any topic, because before you, those 1,000 students have already encountered issues which you are encountering. So they had already posed the question, I have already answered them, or somebody else might have answered them. So solutions are right here. So I want you to exhaust all your options before you post a new topic, because the solution probably is already here. So sample Groovy script to write about Excel file rather than flat CSV file. So things like that, right? So just go take a look, and then you will get to see what is happening. All right. So that's about the Google group. If you do not have access to it, then of course we will make sure that you get access to it. Now, I noticed that Darshana, you are asking some questions about the installation and all that. I will, I mean, today's lecture is definitely about that. So sit tight. I will definitely take all of your questions, and then the way I like to teach this course, and the way I want you to learn this course is try to make it as much as your course, meaning that try to do everything on your own, right? As an example, some students, they would say, would you install a software, SoapUI software on my machine? I mean, fair question. Now, my answer to them is, why don't you install it yourself? Now, I'm not trying to be rude. Of course, we can install it for you. But what I am trying to teach you is, how to fish. I'm not going to give you a fish so that you are happy for that moment, but I will teach you how to fish, meaning you install it yourself. When you install it here, if I install it for you, probably you're not even paying attention. I install it. You go to work, right? There, you have to install it. So you have never done that. So what if you have done it here, meaning that you install it here, even if you struggle, then we are there to help you. But I want you to do it, right? So you can install it. While installing it, once you install and it starts to work, you will get some confidence now. You'll say that, I know how to install these things. And let's say if there is an assignment at work wherein you have to install it on multiple machines, it's a piece of cake because you have already done that. So you're already confident about it. So that's where I am going with this course, meaning that I want you to invest yourself personally, physically, emotionally, in every possible way. And that can only be done if you do things on your own. All right. So doing things on your own is about your assignments. You have to do the assignments. I'm repeating myself. There will be 8 assignments, and you are required to complete those 8 assignments and submit it to me. Okay, now coming to, we talked about the videos, we talked about the live sessions, we talked about interactiveness in the session and off the session through the Google Groups, right? Okay, now let's talk about the software itself, right? Now, before we even discuss about the software, I would like to very briefly discuss about uh, where uh, we get the software from, how we install it, what are the steps that are needed for you to go through all of this. Now, if you have installed in your life, if you have ever installed, let's say, Microsoft Word or Excel on your machine, then you would be able to very easily install SoapUI software. Now you would say that, what is there in installing Microsoft Word? There is nothing. Either you put in the CD, click, 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 it gets installed. I would say exactly the same in here. You're not putting in the CD, but I just have to show you where to get the software from. All right. Okay. Before we talk about where to get the software, I mentioned it to you that it comes from a company called Smart Bear, right? So hang on for a second. Here. So wrong. I have to hook up my drawing board so that I could just share with you. So Smart Bear is the name of the company, right? And they have multiple tools. We are focusing on web service testing, and for web service testing they have these two tools, SoapUI, right? Open source, meaning bottom line, no money needed, right? And then we have SoapUI Pro version, license based tool. So license based means money is involved, right? Okay, now if your company is buying, I think it is definitely less than $500. So I think it's somewhere between $400 and $500, right? So if your company is buying it, now we don't have to invest any money buying it, because this is of course free. This is of course free, and this is, we will use the evaluation copy. Evaluation copy runs for 15 days, right? Evaluation copy. Now you say that what's going to happen after 15 days? Don't worry about it. I will show you a way of extending it so you can keep using it past 15 days. Again, it depends. Now, which we will talk about. Now, SoapUI is the name of the tool. SoapUI and SoapUI Pro. Now, this has been around for at least like 6-7 years. Very recently, last year, they have renamed it to Ready API. That's what they have renamed it to, Ready API. So this is nothing but it's the newest version of SoapUI. So Ready API is the name that they have given. Now, while they changed it to the newest version, they have added lots of new features. Okay. Now, Ready API came into the market late last year. So somewhere around, I would say that October or September of last year. So we have been providing this training for many years now, at least 5-6 years. So if you have taken this training in the past, then it is outdated now, because we basically would be looking at this tool. So I will be teaching you the Ready API tool. Now, when we share with you the videos, we'll share with you the videos of the older version as well as the newer version. Now you would say that, why are you sharing the videos of the older version? The reason we are doing that is because you probably are going to claim some 2 to 3 or 4 years of experience. Not that you would do, but we notice that some people, they do that. So if that means that you are going back before Ready API, so if that's what you want to tell, that you have experience of the previous tools, then you have to know about those tools, and that is the reason we'll give you the videos of the older versions, as well as this class. This totally is going to be about the newer version, SoapUI, which is the Ready API. Okay, since this is a smart bear, so we have to go and then download it. So where do we go and download it from? So they have multiple sites from where you could download it. The easiest of all, easy to remember, is basically your soapui.org. So let's go to soapui.org and then download this software. So here we go. Let me just go here and soapui.org, and we, as you can see, this site is a lot of information on this site. If you go there, the chances are you're going to be lost if you go there. There's so much of information in there that you will find yourself like totally immersed into it, and by the time you come out, you don't know where you are. So what we try to do is we try to hold your hand, and then we will teach you step by step whatever is needed from a excellent jobs perspective. Meaning, if you go out to dice.com and then look for SoapUI jobs, you'll find that every corner of United States there are SoapUI jobs available. Technically, everywhere. And this is for some reason it puts that over there. So let me just so everywhere, it doesn't matter if it is Sacramento, California, it is Tempe, Arizona, whether it is Charlotte, North Carolina, Mountain View, California, New York, it really doesn't matter. Everywhere there are positions where people are looking for SoapUI. So how much of SoapUI is needed for you to do that? The answer to that is we will be covering almost everything that is needed, meaning beginners to intermediate to advanced. Now, if you are a manual tester, if you have not done any programming, then you will find yourself struggling a little bit when we go into the 4th or 5th or 6th class, because there will be some programming that we'll be doing. So the programming that we'll be doing at that time is now every tool has got their own programming. If you have done QTP, then you know that you have to know VBScript. If you have done Selenium, then you know that either you need to know Java or you need to know C#.NET. If you have done Cucumber, then you know that you need to know Ruby, and you need to know something called Gherkin, right? So these are the things. So when it comes to SoapUI, SoapUI uses something called Groovy, right? Okay, so what is Groovy, and why should you learn about Groovy? So Groovy is a sort of like a distant cousin of Java. So meaning that if you know Java, you automatically know Groovy. Now you would say that I don't know anything about Java. I might have done Java when I was in school, when I was in college, when I was doing my bachelor's, but I'm not in touch. You don't have to worry about it. No issues at all. The reason for that is we're going to take you right from the beginning, and then we will show you everything that is needed for you to do what? To build frameworks. So we're going to be building some good, decent frameworks as a part of this course. We'll be creating some frameworks, and those frameworks would require you to interact with data that is sitting in repositories, and those repositories can be Excel spreadsheet, or it can be your databases, or it can be CSV files, or it can be like XML data document. So we will be building our framework so that it could go and then fetch the data from all these different repositories. Now, many a time it was noticed that people, they are afraid, and then they sort of like get discouraged when I say that there is a lot of programming in here. Well, there is a lot of programming for somebody who wants to learn programming and go on an advanced level. Now, you do not need any programming if you are using Pro version. If you're using Pro version, then you don't need any programming, because everything that you need can be done with the Pro version. Pro version, because they charge you that $400-500, they provide everything. You just have to click, 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 click. You need to know what you're doing, and you need to click things, and then things will happen. Automatically, things would happen. Now, you would ask and you would say that maybe if I just do that, maybe I won't get jobs, because if it is no, the idea here is to know how to test web services. So the SoapUI is one of the things that you need to know in the big picture. In the big picture, you have to have a complete, good, decent idea about web services, and those web services are XML based web services, and the other web services are REST web services. There is something called JSON, so you got to be knowing about JSON. And then in XML web services, you've got to be knowing about different protocols. You have to know about, there is something called TCP/IP protocol, there is HTTP protocol. Then we are talking about things like SOAP protocol. When you're using SOAP protocol, you're talking about messages going back and forth. So a lot is involved, not just clicking, but a lot is involved. A good, deep understanding of web services, technical understanding of web services is needed. All right. So my efforts in the first two classes is I just cannot escape. We have to know what is called the architecture. We have to know the architecture of web services. What is a web service? How do you interact with that web service in terms of deploying that web service, and how do you make sure that a web service is up and running, and how do you make sure that you are able to interact with that web services? What do you expect back from the web service? What do you have to give to the web service? So everything. So we'll be talking about that architecture in the first 2-3 classes. Now there's a question here. The question is can SoapUI open source and the SoapUI Pro, both of them, can they go on the same machine? The answer to that is yes, absolutely, they can go on the same machine. In fact, I will give you the demo of that. I will put both of them on my machine and I'll show it to you. Now, now the other question is, when we go for a job, do they need you to use the Pro version or the free ones? Okay, very, very slowly, but there is a huge awareness in the industry that the Pro version can bring a tremendous relief to your team. It brings a lot of stuff that you can basically get it done if you have a Pro version compared to the open source. If you want to drive in reverse on a highway, then you could use the open source. I guess you got the idea. Meaning, who in the world would like to drive reverse on a highway? Nobody would do that, right? Even if you miss the exit, you would prefer to go and then go further, take a U-turn, come back, but then nobody would do that. So with the non-Pro version, it totally defeats the purpose of automation, because it takes so much of time to do a simple task, because you have to use the scripting and all that. Now, in this course, we will keep half and half. We'll keep half and half. You will be surprised that people with limited knowledge becomes your project leads or your project manager. Now you have a biggest dilemma. to convince them that hey, Pro version is the way to go, because with Pro version you would be able to get a lot of things done in a short period of time. But those people, they are rigid, right? They are so stubborn that they want to not go with the best thing, but they want you to use the open source. Well, in that case, it's a sort of like a little blessing in disguise, because if you are getting paid by the hour, meaning if you are a contractor, you couldn't have asked for anything better than that. Because you know what? To do even a simple task in the non-pro version, it'll take hours to do it. Whereas in the pro version, you could do it in seconds. So if your meter is on, if you're getting paid, what do you care? I mean, in that case, go with the non-pro. I mean, don't go with the pro, because with the pro you'll be done in about like 2 months and 3 months. You'll be done with the whole thing. If you're going with the non-pro, you could stretch the project for like almost like a year and a half. So keep milking. So what do you care? I mean, so sometimes you have to walk that fine line and then make a decision whether to go with the pro or non-pro. Our course is going to be 50-50. We're going to be doing everything with the non-pro and everything with the pro. So we will be going and installing both the copies of it. So let's go and install it. So if you take a look in here, I have the non-pro here. I have the non-pro version here, right? So what if you take a look in here, this is SoapUI 5.1.2. Now let us see what version do we get if we go to the soapui.org. So I'm going to go to soapui.org, and this is the website. And over here, as you can see, we could go and then we could download. The latest version as of today is Ready API 1.3. And in the previous batch, I have taught on this latest version 1.3. So you will, of course, be seeing the videos of that. And of course, I will be covering the 1.3, which is the latest version that just came out about like a week ago, right? Probably more than a week. Today is the 19th, so it came out around like the 7th. So about 10 days back, this came out. So we'll be using that. Now, first things first, you go to soapui.org and we will download. So if you scroll down a little bit, over here, you would see that these are the free versions, right? So these free version, as you can see, the SoapUI, they give you the software, and these softwares are either 32-bit or 64-bit. Now the question here is, how do you know which one to take? Well, that is easy, because you got to go and then check your laptop or your environment and find out like what do you got. So if you go from start to control panel, and in control panel, I for one want to show everyone big large icons, otherwise you'll have something like that. So since I want you to see everything big, so we go with the large icons. And in here, if you go to system, when you click on system, it basically tells you about what kind of a machine do you have. So this talks about the operating system. So it really doesn't matter whether you have the ultimate version, Windows 8, Windows 7, whether the Pro version or the ultimate version, home version, doesn't matter, right? Everything would work. Now what matters is here, the system type is whether it is a 64-bit or a 32-bit. As you can see, in my case, it's a 64-bit, all right? So basically that's what I'm going to be using. Now, Darshana, I see your hands raised. So if you want to ask me a question, I can unmute you and you can ask me a question. So there you go. Go ahead. Hello.
I just wanted to tell, I have found out that, company wants us to use this SoapUI, but they don't like to pay for the pro version. They want us to go to open source, put the SoapUI and just use it.
Right. And
that's what.
Exactly. And I appreciate that. Now, what I want you to do is not today, but in about 3 or 4 days, after 3 or 4 days, I will, after you look at both the versions, I want you to make a decision, and I hope we all will remember to put you back on the spot and then check with you, like, what is your opinion now, whether we should go with the open source or the. So sometimes you have to convince your management also, because it's not huge money we are talking about. If you are talking about load runner, or if you're talking about QTP, those are tens of thousands of dollars. This is hardly like $300-400. So, and the amount of I mean, the results that you would get out of this software is going to be uh, out of this world. I mean, so, but again, you have people, you have managers who would force you to use the open source. That's fine. So we will, in our case, we will look at both the versions. So I will show you both the versions. We will use the Pro version, as well as we'll be using the other version as well. So, but hopefully after 3 or 4 sessions, you would say that probably you would go and convince your manager and say that, you know what, again, look at the things that you could do with the Pro version, and $300-400 is not a big investment. So I suggest that you should do it. But if they don't want to, that is perfectly all right, because you are not going to be handicapped, because I will show you everything that can be done in the non-Pro version as well. All right. Okay. So thank you for that point. So let us go, and now that we have an idea that we will be using a 64-bit, so I'm gonna go and get the 64-bit here. So for the non-Pro, this is the non-Pro. You don't have to do anything. You just click on that, and your download will start shortly, in about 3-4 seconds. You could see that we are downloading, and as you can see, this is the software, which is about 110 megabytes. So we'll be downloading that. So what I want you to do is, I for myself, I believe in organizing your work, and I would strongly recommend and suggest that you all should get organized. And the way you guys can get organized is, you put the things in the right place. So on your C drive, I want you to create a folder. I've already done that, but I want you to do it. So I want you to create a folder called SoapUI. Either call it SoapUI training or something related to SoapUI, so that everything that we are doing, we keep it inside this folder. So inside this folder, we will go ahead and then create some more folders. So what folders should we be creating in there depends on your knowledge of how to use this tool. So first of all, let us install this tool. So by this time, the tool is almost getting downloaded. As you can see, it is downloaded here. Show, and I'm going to be opening it. Open containing folder, and as you can see, I have downloaded it so many times in the past. So this is the latest version, the 64-bit, and this is 5.1.3. So I'm just gonna cut it from here, and I'll go into this folder called SoapUI training. And in the SoapUI training, I want you to, even though I have many folders here, so I want you to create a folder called SoapUI_software, right? And let's put our thing in there. So this is the software. So the older versions are here. So this is the latest version. So once we have it, we can go and we can install it, right? Okay, to install it, since I already have the other version, so what I can do is I can go and uninstall it, but it really doesn't matter, because I can install over it. So I'm just going to go. So this way you will see as how I am installing the non-Pro version. So just double clicking on that basically would open up, and then it would take me step by step installing it. So what we are doing is we are installing the non-Pro version, which is the free version of the SoapUI software. Okay, now while it is spinning to install, by the way, it is a Swedish company, Smart Bear. The guys are from Sweden, very smart guys. So when you click on run, it is basically preparing the installation. And I mean, again, I think I have mentioned it to you that if you can install Microsoft Word, then you can technically install SoapUI. So there's not much here except like you keep clicking. So accept the license and then do next. It is going to install it in this folder. So just so that you have a little idea of where it is getting installed. So notice that it is installing it in program files. It will put a folder called Smart Bear, and then it will install. This is the latest version for the non-pro 5.1.3. So that's where it is going to get installed. So I will click next. Now, just for the heck of it, just check everything. Just check everything. The reason for that is it'll go and then it'll install some jar files that are needed in there. So just accept the license and then click next. It says that I'm going to install some tutorials, even though we don't need it, but let it be there, right? And if in case you are bored and you have more time to do more assignments, then you could go to the tutorial. But I'll keep you guys pretty occupied with the amount of work that I'm going to give you. That it's going to be, you will remain occupied. You don't really need to go to the tutorials and all that, because I'm going to give you a lot of work. So it is going to create a shortcut, and on the desktop icon it is going to put that. So now it is installing it, and as you can see, hardly takes about like a minute or two, and then basically it gets installed. Once it gets installed, we can start to use this software. Now, as far as using this software, I have to start talking about when you are using a software, this software which you are going to be, or this tool that you are going to be using, is for what purpose? To test web services. So since we are going to test web services, I think it is required that we have some good, decent knowledge of what is a web service. Now, for next 15, 20, or probably around that time, I will be this is saying that you already have it, so I'll just say yes, because I had the older version. I did not install it. So now we are technically done, so I don't need to see the release, but I'll say that open this. So when I do that, it is basically opening the tool. Now, when the tool opens, so the installation is done now. The installation is done and I'm using the tool. Now, when the tool opens, this is the non-pro version of the tool. What I am going to do now is going to test a web service. So before we actually start using the tool, I have to spend some time in discussing about what is a web service and how we can actually go and then test these web services. Now, web services has been around for a very long time. I mean, I did my master's in computer science in the year 1997 and 1998, and internet was just, coming out at that time. I mean, of course, no Google. The only thing that was out there at that time was Yahoo, and Yahoo was in its infancy stage. Very, 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 very crude looks and behavior of Yahoo, meaning today it has matured enough. You could see so many things, but at that time, it was hardly anything. So by the way, these are the two versions, 5.1.2, this is the 5.1.3, and we will be using the 5.1.3. So it had already opened, and this is what we are going to see. Now, you would say that, what is this? What happens is, even though there is an upgrade from 5.1.2 to 5.1.3, whatever I was doing in 5.1.2, it is going to open with the same thing in here. So I will not start with this. I will actually delete everything and then start with a brand new project. So, but before we start with the brand new project, now that the installation part is over of the non-pro version, pro version will install in the next class. So since the installation is done, in order for us to test it, we have to go and then we have to basically talk a little bit about the web services. So going back to 1998, at that time it was more about websites, and websites was just the content that was there, right? I mean, no dynamic behavior and things like that, meaning today you could pretty much do anything, on your website, right? You could go book your reservations. So if you did not had experience, if you were in school or college at that time, you don't know about it, I will tell you that there was nothing at that time that we do today, meaning we take things for granted today because we book our flights from the computer. At that time they were travel agencies, and I remember I originally come from India, so I used to go to India at that time. So I mean, today very rarely people probably would go to a travel agency, just get it online, and you go to the airline, you buy the tickets and stuff like that. So at that time we used to go to that because there was no option. I mean, with the internet, all the travel agencies pretty much have closed down, and anything you want to do, you do it with your computer. So to make the long story short, my point that I want to draw here is, as time progresses, technology advances, and then web services started showing up in the year around the year 2000. I would say 1999, 2000, we had web services at that time. So at that time, we had two types of web services: the REST web services as well as the XML web services. You would say that a REST service, I thought, is like a new thing. Absolutely not. REST services were available even in the year 2000. 15 years ago, they were available. Of course, XML web services were available at that time, but these were also available. But this was absolutely not used at that time because everyone feels so comfortable using XML web services that nobody even cared to look at the REST and the other type of web services. Why? Because anything and everything you wanted to do you were able to do it with the XML. But then time passed, and in the year 2009, something huge happened. 2008 and 2009. What happened? You came out with something called a smartphone. So iPhone came out in the year 2009, right? 2008, 2009. With the iPhone, all of a sudden, now millions of people started using the web services because you have apps and everything. So apps will talk to the web services. So now what happened is, all of a sudden there was huge load that was putting on the server. So the old way of doing, which is the XML web services, it was no longer the best way of interacting. So they had to look for something else. So they went back to REST services. So REST service, even though it was available long time back, but in the year 2009, from 2009 onwards, it became pretty popular from that time. And today, if I have to put a number, I would say that about 60 to 65% of the web services today are REST services, and probably like 40 or 45 of them are XML based web services. But what we're going to be doing is, we're going to be starting off with the XML based web services in the beginning. We'll do that for at least the 3 or 4 classes, and we have once we get some strong foundation, once we get a good idea of it, learning REST services will become literally piece of cake. You will finish it off in like 2 classes. You could finish off REST services because you have everything that you want to know about the XML based web services. Now let's focus a little bit on what is a web service, and what do I need to know about web services. Now you understand that the world today is connected. Everything is connected to everything else. Now the other day I was shopping around for tickets, going to West Palm Beach in Florida. So I went to this site, Travelocity.com. Right now, when I went to Travelocity.com, now notice what we have here. We have flights, we have hotels, we have cars, we have cruises, right? Now, Travelocity.com, they don't own any airline. Now, if I say I need to get out of Newark, New Jersey, and I need to go to West Palm Beach, and if I come up with, let's say, and return, let's say, is whatever, right? So if I do that, now I can tell you Travelocity as a company, they don't own United, they don't own Delta, they don't own American, they don't own none of those airlines, right? So what is happening right now, just think about it. What is happening right now is this Travelocity, right? They take some data. The data that they are taking is this point, which is flying from, flying to, the date I want to depart, the date I want to come, the total number of people. So these 5 things, it takes that, and then imagine that it throws it in the air, right? Not necessarily throws it in the air, but think that so basically they are sending it out. They are sending it out to wherever, and then in return, all of a sudden some magic happens, and in return, what you see here is hundreds of, if not hundreds of airlines, many airlines, they come back, they say that, oh, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this. So they are sending a lot of, and then that data that is coming back is presented and shown in the browser here, right? Now, the browser that is displaying that data, right? And the browser that is taking the data from the user and sending it. So the browser is the client, the client. So client can be, right, or it can be a browser, it can be a mobile device. You could pretty much do the same thing. If you come to my mobile testing class, I'll show you everything as how we do it using tablets and how we do it using iPhones and Androids and stuff like that, how we do mobile testing. So I show everything there. So this is not a mobile class, so I'm not going to discuss about that. I'll basically talk about web services. So the device or the point of origination or the client really doesn't matter. It can be anything. It can be a browser, it can be a mobile device, it can be a tablet, and then you are sending the data. Where are you sending the data? You are sending the data from the client to the server. So let us talk a little bit about this. So here is, let's say, here is Priceline, or here is Travelocity, or whatever that company, cheaptickets.com, Expedia, whatever, right? So this is that company. So I will say that this is the server of fill in the blank, whatever company. This could be Bank of America, this could any company. So this is the server. On the server, what happens on the server is you have some on the hard drive, you have some developers have created some program, so some code, right? This code, developers have created this code, and then that's some program, right? They could have written that program in any language, Java, C#, Ruby, Python, any language. They might have created some code. What is that code going to do? That code says that if you give me what, let's say departure airport, right? If you give me that, plus if you give me the arrival airport, plus if you give me the date of departure, the date of departure is whatever, so the date of departure and the date of return, right? And the number of people, right? Number of passengers. If you send me this information, so what this program is going to do is, this program will, depending on what the programmer has written, it will search the database and whatnot, and then it will return me back. It will return me back like 100 different things. One of the ticket is from US Airways, that's going to cost $207. The other one is $257. So bottom line is, this program, it needs input data. It needs the input data, and then it takes some input data, and then it returns some output data. So this program is basically giving some results based on some input, and anybody can input it. Who can input? A browser can input it, a phone can input it, a tablet can input it. Anybody can send the input data, and this program will return something back to them. So this program, the developers, they write this program is, I'm telling you in a very crude way, I'm not using any technical jargon right now. So the whole idea is to give you something to look into. And once we get into the understanding of what this is happening here, then we will start to slowly bring in some technical jargon. So right now, think that this program or this code is nothing but your web service. So what is a web service? A web service is nothing but it is some code, some program you developed by programmers using languages like Java or C# or Ruby or Python or C++, whatever. They are using those languages to develop that program, and what that program is going to do, it'll take some input and then it'll return some output. Now, depending on what the business is, the business can be, it can be telecom, it can be healthcare, it can be pharma, it can be retail, it can be finance, it can be, anything. Really doesn't matter. Now, if I have to start giving you some examples, let me take, let's talk about this as in brokerage. So let's say this is E-Trade, right? What happens in E-Trade? People, they go and then they trade. So I, for one, I'm sometimes proud and sometimes ashamed that I trade, right? I mean, sometimes I make good, decent money. Sometimes I am in a bad mood because I lose a lot of money, right? But I guess, it all depends, like, what people they want to do. Rather than going and gambling in Las Vegas or in Atlantic City, I guess this is a better way of doing it, because you never know. I mean, this could probably someday make you rich, right? Now, I'm not recommending that you should trade or you should not trade, but what I'm saying is the world use these financial brokerage applications. So in a financial brokerage application, whether it's an E-Trade or Ameritrade or Scottrade or Merrill Lynch, if you are on the trading floor, what you do is these servers, you will be sending some information. What information? You would say that I want to trade Microsoft and I want to do 500. 500 what? You want to buy 500. And you would say that buy it at a market, right? At a market rate, right? So there are other options. There is market, and then there is something called limit. Limit means that you will set the price. You'll say that, okay, when the Microsoft stocks come to $41.37, buy at that time. So that means that you are setting a limit on that. Or you could say that whatever it is right now, it is, let's say, $47.85, buy it at the market. So the idea here is you are supplying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All these parameters are coming here. And then what this code is going to do, depending on what the programmer has written, this will send it, E-Trade will send it to the, depending on what stock exchange it has to go to, it'll go to NASDAQ, or it'll go to Dow Jones, or it'll go to, depending on, whether it is an S&P stock or whatever. So it will send it there. And then while it is sending, before it sends, it'll check on E-Trade if you have an account, and in your account how much money you have. If you have $500,000, right, and you are buying, let's say, 500 times 47, I don't even know, you do the math, it could be like close to 20,000. So before even it places this trade on the exchange, it has to check, it has to do some business logic, like, do we have that much of money in the account? Then again, your account also will be of different type. There is I mean, without going into the details of this particular industry, but the idea here is before even this is getting traded, some other business logic happens. So the web service, depending on what business it is, if it is like telecom, it could be you're paying a bill. For paying a bill, you will enter your account number, and you will say that, okay, you are paying this bill for this cell phone number, whatever, 732 and then you will say that I'm paying for the $347.89, and this is, so you are sending all this information. It takes the information depending on what code it is, and it will say that, okay, your amount was processed successfully, your bill has been paid. And then there are other features in there, account summary, and then you can go back and then look into what kind of transaction. So everything is that code. That code is a web service. In simple form, web service basically is some code that developer had created, and that web service works based on what you send it and what it is sending you back. So now that you heard in a very simple words, here is some little bit technical details. Okay, so you have to have a server. So we are talking about the architecture now, right? We are talking about some technical jargon. So the architecture of web services is, web service basically is nothing but the code which is residing on the server. So this server will have some operating system, whether it is a Windows server like 2012 server, right? Or it could be like a Linux server, or it could be like a Unix server. You have different flavors in whatchamacall in Linux. It could be Mandrake. In Linux, in Unix, it could be like Sun Solaris. So we don't really care about that. The main thing that you need to know is web services will be residing on a server that will have some operating system. Okay, all right, so that's one thing important to know. Second thing is, on this server you should have one main critical component, is you should have an app server running on it. So app server is something that will basically host a web service. So what do you mean by host a web service? Meaning that on the server, every server will have an operating system. But in order for the web service to work, you have to have the app server. App servers are examples of app servers is something like WebSphere, right? Apache, right? Tomcat, JBoss, WebLogic, right? IIS, Internet Information Server, and many more. So these are basically different web servers. So sometimes they're going to be asking a question like, what kind of web servers are you familiar with? Now, again, we are testers. We are not administrators that we should know everything about it. It is enough if you even have little idea of these web servers. So even if you know the names, that's fine, because in the interview they might ask you this question like, what kind of app server were you working on? So you could, the most common these days are for Microsoft, for Windows servers, it is IIS, and for Linux and Unix, it's either WebSphere or WebLogic. These are the most popular ones. JBoss, Tomcat, these are the lower end, small scale servers, whereas IIS is for huge. So let's say your volume, your traffic is very high. Based on the volume, based on the traffic, they will decide to use which app server to go with, because these are bigger from IBM WebSphere and from Microsoft IIS. These are bigger web servers. So bigger web servers means that they will support more and more traffic on it, right? So what is the job of this app server? Now, you cannot just have some code which is web service lying on the server. They have to get hosted using the app server. So what happens is, now directly, indirectly, your browser or your phone or your tablet will be calling these web services. The way they call these web services is sometimes from the back of a button. So let's say you have a credit card number, and then you have the credit card expiration date, and then you have the CVV2, and then the amount, right? So you enter all that. Now, why did you enter? Because you want to buy. But this is one part of the bigger application. The application here is, by this time, you have already added so many things into the shopping cart. You bought a TV, or you bought maybe a router, you bought something. So now comes the payment thing of it. So just this little piece, let's say, when the back of the button, when you say that process credit card, it is sending this 1, 2, 3, 4, it is sending it to this web service. So what is coming? Credit card number is coming, and the credit card expiration date is coming, date and year is coming, and CVV2 is coming, and the amount is coming. So this is coming as what? As input parameters, right? So this is coming as input. Now the logic or the code of this web service is, it has to take it and it has to, process this credit card. You are entering the credit card number. So now don't you think that if we just put a credit card number, will it process? It will do what? It will check whether we have credit or not. We might have already used, let's say the credit line is, let's say 20,000 on your credit card. Now, if you have 20,000 on your credit card, if you're on a shopping spree, and if you're buying, and then, so at some point you cannot be using it. Forget about 20,000. Let's say 2,000. And you have 4 items to buy. You just bought, a TV, then you bought some stuff for your, whoever. And then at some point, when you have another input coming in here, so this will fail. So what is happening? This will also talk to the credit card, let's say MasterCard or Discover or Visa or some bank, if it is a debit card, right? So it has to, before even it says that, your order is successful, before it says that, it has to go and talk to your bank and find out it is. So everything is the part of the web service, right? So depending on what code they have written in here, developers they have written here, we have to test. And we got to make sure that, yeah, it is doing everything. It is not only processing it, it also check this, and then it is. So that's what we have to go and we have to test. So in order to test that, we have to know, first of all, A, meaning that, B, and C. These 3 things we have to know about the web service. Now, ABC is not necessarily just using it as a slang, like, oh, you don't even know the ABC of a web service and you are a web service tester. No, not that kind of an ABC. This ABC is basically, it means something about it. A stands for address, B stands for binding, and C stands for contract, right? So I got to be knowing the A, B, and C, which is the address and binding and contract of the web service, before I could even test the web service. Now, let's start with A, address. Address means that, now, in order for me to test this web service, I need to know, where is this web service? What do you mean by where is this web service? London, Paris, or New York? No. Basically, we are talking about the server's address. Or in other words, this is the URL. Uniform Resource Locator, meaning that, like in America, we all have, government knows us by what? Not necessarily by our names, right? I mean, they know us with so many things, but basically, if you need to get something done, the most important thing that they ask you is the social security number, because that's how they identify us, right? Now, how do they identify where your web service is? They identify where your web service is if you give the URL, or in other words, address, or the other word is endpoint. So endpoint is nothing but the location where this endpoint is, the location where this web service is hosted. Now, I don't know about you folks, but again, I keep giving examples of India because that's where I am from. We hardly have, except for major cities like Bombay and Delhi and Bangalore. Going back 30-40 years, if you go to a remote village in India, there's nothing there. Nothing in the sense like you have houses. This is a house. This is a house. This is a house. This is a house, right? Now, the way they will tell it is if you want to go to this, they say that take this and this is the third house. Meaning there is no number here. This is 14. This is 16. This is 18. This is 12. This, I mean, very rarely, because there is no proper system. At least 40 years back, it was not like that. So they'll say that go there where you'll find the roof is like a pink color or blue color or purple color or whatever, right? Because there was nothing like that, right? I mean, I'm being a little sarcastic and going to the extremes of it, but if there is no system, it is very difficult to identify. Here, the way you identify a web service is where it gets deployed, where it is sitting, where it is getting hosted. So the words now, hosting, right, deployment, right, all that is the housing or the place where you could find the web service. So when somebody is hosting a web service, that means that you got to know about the address or the TCP IP address, right? So either they give you the URL, the domain name and stuff like that, or they give you the TCP IP address. Now, TCP IP address, machines, they like it, but URL is for humans. So first thing first, endpoint, where it is hosted. So usually the endpoint is either HTTP or HTTPS if it is a secured web service, and then www and whatever.com and So this is nothing but this is your endpoint. So this is your endpoint. So a part, they have to provide you the address of it. Now, if they tell you that we want you to go and then test this web service, you expect at least a minimum of three things from them. First, the address, A. Second, the binding. And third, the contract. Now you would say, what is this binding and contract? Now, if I tell you that I want you to test a web service, and this web service is about, and I want you to just participate and tell me what is your understanding about it. So if I tell you that I want you to test a web service that can make a reservation for a hotel, right? So maybe Hilton, they employ you at Hilton, and then they say that go and test the web service. Now, what comes to your mind first if it is a hotel reservation? So what are you thinking at that time? What are you thinking at that time? So for a hotel reservation, what do we need? What do we need for a hotel reservation? So you would say, nah, I think we need the name, right? So we need at least we need the name, right? So if I put it in here, so I need name, right, of the person making it, the reservation, and I need like the date from, date to, right, and I need let's say number of rooms, right, or number of beds maybe, right, single bed, double bed, whatever, right, and basically what else do you need? I mean, something similar to that, right? So so what I'm trying to get from you is, if you know what data, what input parameters we need, right, and once you send this, what do you think is a happy path scenario? Happy path scenario is the web service is working fine. So if it is working fine, this is about a reservation. So what do you think the results is going to be? We are booking an airline for you? No. The result would be we have successfully booked this room for you at Hilton. This is the address and this is the date and right? So there is going to be input and you have to have the expected output coming out. So in a web service, if you are given that information as what needs to be sent and what you will be expecting, that information is your binding and contract, that B and C. Okay, now if I say number of beds, right? So or for that matter, date. Now you would say that date, we enter date here as what? DDYYYY, right? Now in India or in British, it is the other way, right? So now, do we know this web service is going to be universal, right? It has to work all over the globe. So now I, as a tester, I do not want to make any assumptions. I don't want to assume things. I because my job is to make sure that I test and I test properly. So I test properly if I know all of these details about what I'm testing and all that. So they got to give you the documentation, a technical documentation that explains you everything about this web service in terms of ABC. So ABC, A part was very easy for us to understand. B and C part is what kind of this code that we are putting it in there, right? So when a developer writes a code, he basically calls it functions, right? So he will create multiple functions. Let's say when it comes to a web service for a room. So room, what can you do to a room? You can book a room, you can cancel, right, a room, you can change a room, right? So see right here, this is one function, this is another function, this is third function. So when a developer creates the code, depending on the business, he will each feature, he will create it into a function. Now this is the language of a developer or a programmer, they call it function. But for everyone else, like you and me as a tester or the stakeholders and all that, there is a web service lingo, there is a web service terminology. What is the terminology for a web service? What we say that in a web service, what do we have in a web service? This is what we have in a web service. In a web service, a web service is nothing but, web service offers many operations. So operation is nothing but the function that the developer had created. So a function like book a room, right? So that would be one function. And another operation. So now notice I said function, but you and I as testers, we will call it operation. So a web service is nothing but a group of collection of operations. Now, do you agree that every operation, whether it's a book a room or trade a stock or buy a plane ticket or deposit funds in a bank or withdraw money from your checking account or pay your telephone bill or anything like that, everything is an operation. It's an operation because today you could pretty much do everything from a mobile phone. So for mobile phone, it will go and use this web service. So there will be a name of the web service, that's the operation. Every operation will take what? Input parameters, agree? Input parameters, and it will give you output data. Now the input parameters, each parameter, every parameter that you will send, let's say 100 what? 100 what? $100. So this 100 is what? It's a currency. And is it a currency? Is it a euro? Is it like a rupee? Is it whatever this is, right? So this 100, we have to say that this 100 represents some data, and this 100 will have a data type. So whatever the input data that we are sending, we also have to have its data type. Some will take string, some will take number, some will take double. Now integer means that it's a whole number, 123. If it is 123.09, then I cannot use integer, I have to use double, right? Because there is a currency or there is a decimal involved. And then, so the idea here is for the data, we also have to worry about the data type. So in the binding and in the contract and the address, all that information is given about not just the operations, but also the data types of the operation. So all that information is given in a document. That document wherein all this information is given, which is the address, binding, and contract, that document is called the WSDL document. WSDL stands for Web Service Description Language. Web Service Description Language. So very first thing, when you are asked to test a web service, what are you going to be asking? You say that, okay, can I take a look at the WSDL, right? So they will give you the specs of that web service, meaning this web service, whatever web service exposes, right? Now exposes 4 operations, right? So basically what those operations are nothing but those functions, right? The functions will take some input and some output, and that is referred to as the interface. So in a web service, basically when we are testing a web service using a tool like SoapUI, if I'm testing a web service, what I am interested in is, first of all, if on the server, if the web service is up and running. So in order to find this up and running, we have to basically go and get connected. So that part is the address, right? Once you get connected and if everything is good, we will see its interface. Interface means that, okay, it has operations like book, change, cancel, right? Each of these operations it is saying. And then it also, in order to test it, it will say that book a room will take 4 input parameters. So we have to supply those 4 input parameters. What are those 4 input parameters? Oh, one will take a data type of a string, the other one will take a data type of integer, the third one will take double, the fourth one will take string. So all that goes again to the server. So I have to send that information. So I send that information through something called a request. So what is request? Request is a part of the operation. So what interface does? It exposes the operations. Each operation is nothing but the request, and the request is about sending the input data of all the parameters to the server, and on the server the request gets processed, and then you will get what? You will get the response. So in short, web service testing is all about request and response. It's everything about request and response. But in order to see the request, you have to have the interface. How do you get the interface? Well, if you know the address, you will send the address. So all that information is in the WSDL document. Now, unfortunately, the WSDL document is a technical document in the sense that it is not written in text, but it is written in XML. So even to read a WSDL document, if you don't know the trick as how to read, you will be spending maybe a week reading it, and still you will not get anything out of it. Probably you might just be able to get the A part out of it even after reading it for a week. But I will say that this is all XML. We know 0 XML, let's say, at this time, right? But I will show you a trick. And based on that trick, you will learn as how to read or how to parse that XML, right, in 5 minutes, right? In 5 minutes. So I'll show you a trick that you could know everything about how to read and WSDL document in 5 minutes, probably in less than 5 minutes, right? Otherwise, if you don't know that trick, you might be reading it for 1 week and still you will have some trouble finding it, right? What you mean by that? Okay, so what is WSDL? Web Service Description Language. It describes that web service. It's a web service description language, so it describes the web service. Unfortunately, it describes it in XML. You and I, we don't know XML, so we could run to this tool, SoapUI tool, and say that we don't know anything about this. Can you help it? And without we knowing, without the tool knowing, in a second we will see everything about that. So what this does is it gives you the interface, and interface exposes to you operations, and each operation offers you a request, a way of sending the data to the server, and then we'll be getting the data back from the server. Okay, so day one, if you have been asked to test a web service, your first question to them is, can I get the documentation? And the documentation is they're going to give you the WSDL and so much other documentation, which you don't really have to care about it. Don't even have to worry about it unless you want to, right? Okay, what is a WSDL? How does it look like? I mean, can I take a look at a WSDL? Right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to share with you many WSDLs, 1 dozen, 2 dozen WSDLs. So each WSDL is what? Each WSDL is a web service description language. So it is the description of a single web service. So inside a single web service is what do you have? You have operations. You have many operations. Those operations are exposed using an interface. So if from my hour of talking with you in this session, if you have to take away something, and that would be basically, you would say that in order to test a web service, I have to have the understanding of ABC, which is the address binding and contract. The address binding and contract information is given in a WSDL document, and WSDL document is an XML document. In order for me to parse the XML document, I could use a tool. The tool is SoapUI. What SoapUI does is, if you bind, if you connect, if you bind to that web service through the WSDL information, then it will expose to you all the operations, and the operations are exposed through or via an interface. So bottom line, in the SoapUI tool, you will connect to the web service, and the web service will give you back, if everything is working, it will give you back the interface. Interface will show you that, oh, I have 14 operations, and going into each operation, you will see the request, and the request will show you what you need to pass, right? All that you can also learn about all of this without even using the SoapUI, right? Without using the SoapUI, you could learn it, and I will take you to show you the WSDL without SoapUI first, and then we will use the SoapUI, and you will see that how easy it is to understand using the SoapUI. Okay, so I will share with you a bunch of WSDLs. So as of now, I am going to, these are many different WSDLs. I am going to go with, believe it or not, let me just take this, right? I'm just going to take that WSDL, right? So I will go here to a browser, and now WSDL will have, it will end with WSDL. After the question mark, it will end with WSDL, and when you hit that, it's an XML. So what you see here is, this is the WSDL. Now if you look at it, you're like, what the heck is this? I have no clue what this is. I don't know what this is. This is too much for me. This is too technical for me. This is not for me. I have a problem. I cannot understand anything. Oh well, this all is XML. Now, even without the SoapUI tool, if you give it to, I mean, right here, right now, today, you would be learning something which even the developers, sometimes they have a little problem understanding this document, but I will give you a trick, and I will show you such a big document. You could, cut it down into nothing, and then you would be able to understand everything what is happening. Now, when you see something huge, big, right, monstrous, right, so you are afraid of it, right? But if you do this, you're like, oh, there's nothing here. So this is like an ant, like a small thing. There's nothing in here. But when you do this, it's like a giant. You're like afraid. Oh, look at that. Oh, this is too much. Look at that, right? Okay. So first things first, let us start inside this. The very first thing, let's start from here. It is an XML document. So what you see here is XML is something like this. Now, XML is like HTML. So you have this. These are called tags. If you are using HTML, HTML has tags, and those tags are predefined. Now, what do you mean by predefined? You have a tag called HTML, you have a tag called head, you have a tag called title, you have a tag called body, you have a tag called table, you have a tag called image, you have a tag. So, I mean, these are the tags of HTML. XML also has tags, but XML has tags like WSDL, right? As an example, right? XML has tags like element, right? As an example, right? So now these are not predefined. It could be anything. So just to give you an example, if I say that this one, right? Now, if I say that, most of you know what that is, right? Most of you know what that is, right? But if I bring an American, right? If I bring in, somebody who is not from the subcontinent, they might think probably this is a name of a car, or maybe this is a fruit, because they don't know, right? Now, if I do this, if I surround this, and if I say that, uh, if I do this, I say that, then all of a sudden they know that this is not a plane, this is not a building, this is some tester we are talking about. So XML, what it does is, this is the data, but XML also has something that describes the data. So this is called metadata, that is describing the data. So this is the data. Now, so anything which is an element or which is a tag, right? It describes this data. It tells a little bit more about the data. So the tags, they also have attributes. What do you mean by attribute? Let's say image. If you know HTML, you would know that src equals, and then you give the name of the file, like logo dot jpeg. When you do something like that, this means that we are talking about a file which is the logo, right? So, but if you see, this is not the tag, this is the attribute of the tag. It is a part of the tag. So likewise, I can have here, let's say type, what type of tester it is, right? This is manual, let's say, right? So now we know that Asha is not a fruit, it's not a book, it's not, I mean, it can be, but in this case, Asha is a tester, and it is a manual. I mean, I intentionally said it is a manual tester, right? Because let's say if I do this now I know that Asha is a manual tester. She is a manual tester, only because I saw that. So what we have here is, we started off with Asha, which could have been anything, but now this is describing. So this is XML. Now this class is not about XML, but enough to know that here this is XML, right? But if it is very difficult for us to understand about XML, so what we do is, we will go inside this, and then we will try to collapse it. So anything that is expanded, I'm just gonna go and collapse it. So once I start collapsing it, now let me just collapse to a point that it is no longer, okay, everything is collapsed. Now it is in a manageable form, correct? It is manageable now. Manageable in the sense that, okay, I can maybe make an attempt to understand what this is saying here. If you see here, there are about, in any WSDL, if you see, there are what, if you see here, there are about 5 or 6 different things in a WSDL. So if you see here, there is something called WSDL definitions, right? So, and then we have something called WSDL. I'm not gonna say WSDL. So next time, so this is, we have definitions, and then we have types, and then we have message, right? And then messages, right? And then we have port type and binding and service. So we have port type, and we have binding, and we have service. Now, right? Now notice this is what we have. If you see here, definition, types, message, port type, and binding and service. Now, if I go here, and just for the heck of it, if I take this, right, and if I come here, and if I do that, again, I have many things happening here, right? But if you go back, you will notice that there is not going to be anything different than that. So if I know that in any web service, these are the 5 things, 6 things that we need to know, then the next thing is, even from those 5 or 6 things, I will show you a trick of how to find out ABC, because the idea here is we have to find out ABC, and very easily I will show you as how to find out ABC. Now, whatever we are doing here, nothing needs to be done like that. This is just to make you a little bit comfortable or uncomfortable, because you would see that, oh, this much of effort I have to put in, because this is all manual. You don't even have to do it, because after I show you all this, and if I take you into the tool, you would appreciate the tool, like how much of effort these SoapUI guys, they put it in here, that I am doing all of this, and you don't really have to, because the tool would know everything. But what is that everything is what I'm trying to share with you. Everything is A, B, and C, correct? So here again, coming back, what are we looking at? Definition, types, message, port type, binding, and service. And we have service, binding, port type, message, right? And then we have here types and definitions. Okay, let's start from the bottom. Let's start all the way from the bottom. If you see here, service, if you expand that and look into the service, now you see address A, and so basically from the ABC, the A part, which is the address, is nothing but this is the address of the, this is the endpoint. So if you ever have to find out the address of a web service, if they give you an WSDL, where do you go? Do you go here into the message? Do you go into the, no, you go into the service, and you say right here is the address, and you say that, this web service is hosted and this server, this is the address of it. So A part is done. Now let's talk about the B and C, right? Let's talk about the B and C. So for the binding, if I go and expand this, now if I expand this binding part, whether I do it here, this is the A part is done, right? If I go into the binding, and look into it, what does the binding tells me? The binding is telling me about the operations. See here the operation, this is the operation, right? That's the operation. So binding exposes to me operation. So what is an operation? An operation is nothing but it's the name of the function, right? The developer had created. So for us to test a web service, we need to know the operation. Now, do you know how many operations are here? You would say, yeah, I know it, because right here I know that operation is sale, authorization, refund, void, force. So these are the different. So if you have a paper and a pencil, you could write down and you could say that these are my operations. How many operations? Dozen, maybe 12, 15 operations, right? If you go here, how would you find out the operation? If I ask, how would you find out the looking at this WSDL document, give me the address, you jump here and you say, address. If I say, give me the operations, how many operations are being exposed here? You would go into the binding and you would say that, the operation is get tr customer data. Another operation is get tr customers, all customers, add new customer, customer login, update customer. These are the 5 operations. That's it. So here we have 5 operations. Here we have like maybe a dozen operation. So this is the B part, binding, B part. Now for the contract, what else do we need to know? What else we need to know? We need to know for sale, if you see for sale, do we have to pass any parameters? So how do we know that? We got to jump into the types, into the type. Forget about this message and all that. Just go into the type. In type, if you see this sale, if you see this sale was an operation, right? And if you expand, it says that it's a complex type, meaning that we have many parameters that we have to pass. What are those parameters of this sale? We have one parameter, the name is strcc credit card name, right? So that's what it is, credit card. And what data it is taking? Data type string. Another one is what parameter is expiration month, again string. This is CVV2 string, year string, amount double because it is $433.99. So we should take double. So this is basically your sale as an operation. And when you expand in the types, it will give you basically the complex type, which is the contract. So you have A, B, C, everything here, right? A, B, C. The contract is if you supply this parameters with this data type, this is what you're going to get the response. The response is, if you look into the complex type of the response is you will get the result of sale, and that is something called string. What value we will get, that is in the data, like expected data, what it is, what you are passing and what you are getting. That is the data portion of it. That is not there in the WSDL. So WSDL, in a nutshell, consists of basically WSDL consists of your service, your binding, your port type, and your types and your definition. All in all, you just remember that service exposes the address. Binding will expose the operations, and types will expose the contract, which is nothing but the data types and what data we are passing on. Simple as that, right? That's it. Now you would say that, this is my head is hurting right now. I would say that forget about whatever I told you all this time. You would say, how can you even say that? You have wasted all my hour and a half and you are saying forget about it. I'll say that, nah, if your head is hurting, forget about it. Why? Because we have a friend here. This friend will show us everything in 2 seconds, provided you know how to talk to this friend. So first things first, this is what SoapUI open source non-pro, open source non-pro. So here it's a tool. Microsoft Word, if you open it for the very first time in your life, you're like, what is it? You would say that, okay, there are menu items in Microsoft, right? Same here, menu items here in the top. Then you have like what is called the toolbar, like shortcuts and all that, right? Something that we have here is simple is, you see that there is a left side and then there is a right side. And in the left side, there is a left, this is the top, right? And on the left, this is the bottom. And on the right side, very soon you will see two parts, this one and this one. You will see two parts in a second. So let me just clear this and show you that this is so simple. You would be saying like, oh, if it was this simple, why did you waste my time all this time? Because you were showing me all this, and you could have brought me directly in here and then show me. If I would have done that, then you would have not paid much attention to what was showing up here, because it would be so easy that you would take it for granted. So that's why I showed you slightly difficult thing, and then I will show you now how easy it is for the tool to give you everything, all operations, without even you putting any effort. It will give you everything, all operations, what is the data type and what are the interface operations, requests, everything. It will give it to you. Okay, in order to use that, first of all, what you got to do is this area, we have to create what is called a workspace. So think this was not there, so let me just clean it. Okay, so we're going to start off with a new workspace. What is a workspace? Workspace is an area where you can save all your work. So I'm starting off with a new workspace. Let's say this is the information for Capital One. capital 1, right? So capital 1, credit card processing testing, right? Okay, that's a big name that we have given as a workspace. That's fine. So in order to save this workspace, which again is going to be an XML document, what you do is organize yourself, go to that C drive, and in the C drive, we created this folder called SoapUI training. Inside it, create a folder called SoapUI underscore workspaces, right? Create that folder because I want you to put the things in the right places. So in there, we will save this capital 1 thing in there. Once you do that, it says that, hey, you already have some workspaces. You are switching it. Do you want to save this? I don't have nothing there, so I will not. So what you see here is the top line, what you see here. Any line that you see here, you can know about that line if you look here. If you look here in the bottom, that will tell you what is that. So if you look at it, that is what we see. We are seeing here is a workspace. It's a workspace. So there is a hierarchy. I have a son and I am somebody's son. So I have my father. My father has a father. His father has a. So there is a hierarchy, right? So the hierarchy in SoapUI is the grandfather is workspace. So inside the workspace, we will create what? A project. A project. So the project can be, if we are testing a SOAP XML based web service, I will take this. If I'm using a REST web service, I will take that. I will take that. So here is the SOAP project. So I'm going to start here. And if you look at it, it is asking you for the name of it. Let's say I will say capital 1, right? Capital 1 testing, let's say. Okay, now it is asking you for the WSDL. So I will give you the WSDL. So let's say this is the WSDL. I will put it in the chat. You can take it from there, or else I will give you the WSDLs. You will find the WSDLs, all the WSDLs here in the Google group. So if you go in here and say WSDL, right? Here are all the WSDLs that and people are talking about it, like so I miss WSDL in my mail, so please anybody forward it. So when you go in here, so let's see what happened. So somebody for this is old 2012. So from that time to this time, all these WSDLs probably had changed, right? So this somebody called Mila had forwarded that. But if you go down, you will find a lot more information in here. Or else, if you cannot find, don't waste your time. Just post a new topic. So you come in here, you say, can I have the WSDLs? And then somebody will give you the copy of the WSDLs, or I will give you all the WSDLs. So you should have, here is the WSDL link. So if you see here, here is the WSDL link, right? So all the WSDLs are there. All the WSDLs are. So you can take. So we just took this WSDL. So when we take this WSDL and copy it, and we come in here, so we're gonna go and paste the WSDL here. Now notice we struggle so much with the WSDL here, opening, closing, this, that, all that, and look what is happening. So once I give the WSDL and hit OK, what it is doing right now is, this is the address of the web service now. This is the address. See here, this is the address. So it will connect my SoapUI. I'm sitting here in New Jersey. It is going to connect to my server, and we have a server in California. So right now, if I hit OK, notice it is going to right now connecting now, and it within like blink of an eye it connected. And after it connected, see here what it gave. See this green I, right? I letter, I for an interface. So this, we have a workspace. Inside a workspace, I have this as a project. How do you know that this is a project? Here, project. So workspace, inside a workspace we have a project, and after connecting the WSDL, I have what? You tell me what we have now. We have the interface. And inside we have two interfaces because the developer who created this web service, he gave one for backward compatibility. This is the older one, this is the newer one, right? So you don't have to have both. So I could just right click and then remove one. So I removed the older one. So I'm just working with the newer one. So what is this? It's an interface. Interface does what? It exposes. It is exposing what? All of the what is this? Operations. So we have this operation, that all of this operation. So whatever we struggled here to find out here, if you see here, I went in to show you about all of these things here. See here, those operations and all that. I was struggling to show you sale, authorization, refund. You could have gotten all of this from here, or you have them right here. How much of effort did we put in to get that? Because the tool did everything for us. So here is all the operations. So let's start looking inside the operation. So I'm not going to go onto all 14 of them. Let me go into sale. So let me expand sale. And what I have here is request. So the left side is the hierarchy is workspace, project, interface, operation, request. Now on the right side, on the request, I told you that there'll be two parts to it. If I double click on it, now I get these two parts. And what is these two parts? This is the request I have to send, and here I will get the response. So what you see here is, it's like, this is a little bit all XML. I cannot understand what is happening. Well, what you see here is where we will be starting in the next class. I will explain you everything in here. But right now, before you go, I will do this. I will send some data. Wherever there is question mark, that is the data that we have to send. So this is the credit card number. So let me put some credit card number in here, and let me put the expiration month, and let me put the CVV2, which is the back of the card, and let me put this year, 2-digit year, which is 18, and let me put the amount, which is going to be $365.21. And what am I doing? I'm sending the request to the server. I'm here in New Jersey. I will send it to the server in California, and let's see what the response comes back. So this is the XML request I'm sending. Next class, I'll explain you everything about this envelopes. What is an envelope? How does an envelope carries the payload? This is the payload. So if you heard about NASA, they send the payload. Payload is everything they want to send it to the space station. So we are sending our payload. They send what? They send people, and we are sending what? This information. Why are we sending this information? Because our WSDL said we have to send this information as the input parameters, because this is a string and this is the number and whatever. So we are sending. So if I click on that, what I get is the response, and the response is your sale transaction for the credit card, this one was approved with an approval code of and the transaction number is right? So they will give you the test case. We have to write the test case, and the test case we will say that in order to process a credit card, when we pass the credit card number, expiration, and the CVV2 and the year and the amount, we should receive a message that says that your sale transaction for the credit card number was approved. So if this comes back, then we say that, okay, this test case passed. But we are testing it only for one card, right? This could be a Visa card. How about if we have to test it for hundreds of cards? Well, for that, we have to go and we have to prepare our data. And our data for hundreds of cards would be coming from where? From Excel. And basically, if you look into that is nothing but all the credit card information of different credit cards that we would be passing, and some are American Express, some is Australian, some is Diners, JCB, Visa, and as we are sending with that, we will be getting some response back, and whatever that response is coming back, we have to capture that response in Excel, and then we have to show that back, and all that everything that I have shown you right now, I will cover that in the next class. So in the next class, you will see that I will cover what is called a data-driven framework. So data-driven framework I will cover. I will show you everything. Usually what they do is they keep it for the end of the course. They say that, oh, this is something very important, and then they do some simple stuff here and there, and the data-driven framework they kind of like keep it for the end of the class. But I will show it to you right away in the next class. I'll show it to you, so you can imagine how much of content we are going to be covering as a part of this course. For those of you folks who have already registered, I will be sending you the link for the second class. Now, for those of you who are still sitting on the sidelines, this is up to you if you want to register, and we will send you the link after you register. We'll share with you the videos. Okay, here is a little announcement I have to make to all of you. This is a Tuesday-Thursday batch, correct? This is a Tuesday-Thursday batch. So we are basically supposed to meet like on 21st, right? Which is a Thursday. Now, only because this is a Memorial Day weekend that is coming up. So I am traveling up to from there to there. Actually, I'm leaving 21st and coming back on 25th. So here is the deal. Either we can have our class tomorrow, right? This class tomorrow, or don't worry about it. So just relax, just watch the videos and all that. Our next class will be next Tuesday, and then that's how we will. Then after that, we all will be back from Memorial Day. Will have a, because New York, if you live in New York and Boston in Northeast, winter is brutal here. So we just couldn't get out of this place. 2 feet of snow, 3 feet of snow in Boston, and so this is the first time you have a long weekend. So I just want to just go out and then relax a little bit. So either we could do it tomorrow, or if tomorrow is too early, then we just start with next class. So this is the first class. Today we just concluded. Our second class will be on 26th. So we'll meet next Tuesday. Meanwhile, all of you who are registered, you should start watching the videos. So go back and watch the video. Go back and watch the video of the previous class. And if you want to stay like 2 steps ahead, just watch the video of the next class. Just watch the video of the next class, and then you could come to the next class. Now I will take up your questions. Our next class we will meet on next Tuesday. So we all can have some little relaxing time during the Memorial weekend. And so I will take up your questions. If you have any questions, if you want to talk, I can unmute you. So Darshana, you want to talk? I will unmute you. Go ahead.
Can you please send the WSDL before you leave? I know we can find it for the Google group, but if we have one email, that would be nice.
Yeah, I will do that. Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you. So we can prepare for the next class.
Sure, I will do that. Well, you also have to watch the videos if you want to do that, because I might be using anyone from that WSDL, so not necessarily that this e-commerce one. I could be using the credit card one. I could be using anything. So you can just take a look. Just take it easy. Just spend some time on that. That'll help. So
because I have installed already SoapUI while your class was going, so I will work on that.
Good, very good. Okay, so let's move on and see what other questions we have. I would like to speak. Okay, hang on. I would unmute you. Yeah, go ahead. There you go. Go ahead, Mr. Chavez.
Thanks. Can you do me a favor? I couldn't watch any of the videos with the Flash Player version.
Right.
Can you download this one with the Silverlight?
Yeah. I mean, on the screencast, we have everything uploaded on the screencast, and it is. I mean, I have to find another server to do that. We were in the process of getting, because these things from screencast won't run in the mobile devices. So we were looking at some servers to host it. So let me see. So if you see here, I mean, we have done so many courses in the past. So if I take you into any of the SoapUI course, which is a February batch, as you can see when it opens up, there are 8 classes. And if you see here, this is Silverlight. This is Silverlight. Silverlight and all that on mobile devices, probably it will have a little problem running it. So what we are going to do is we are going to find another server and put everything on another server. So while I do that, at least for like a day or two, if you guys can manage, and sometime during the long weekend, I will find a way to put it on the other server. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Anybody else? Any questions? Let me see. I am a non-premium member, so my question will be able to get the next class or no? No. I mean, this is the first class is free for all, so you can come and take it. But if you want to come to the next class, you have to make the payment, and then only you would come to the next class. Devi, I will change that the May batch, and I will give you some other batch for the Selenium. That's no problem. Can you please send the WSDL? Okay, WSDL, we will take care of that. Darshan, I don't know if you have still any other question. Your hand is raised. Do you have any other question?
Oh no, sorry, I don't have any question.
Okay. All right. So I'll let you guys go right now. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and we will meet again, next Tuesday, and then there will be no interruption at that time. We'll be continuously doing our classes, so will be no interruption at that time. So I'm going to be seeing you next Tuesday, and before that, you can start watching some of the videos, and we'll take it from there. So how would I know if I received the error message? Would you know why I received the error message? Error message on what? On the videos? The videos, basically what happens is invalid credit. Okay, I will unmute you. You can talk to me because I don't know. Okay, go ahead, Diego. What were you saying?
Yeah, I was following in the SoapUI, and I tried myself, and I have an invalid credit card number error.
Oh, you're speaking too fast. I can't catch up. Say it again.
So I was doing what you did. I was following the steps, and I got an error message stating that the credit card number was invalid, the 412-547-84521.
Oh, okay. Yeah, some of the WSDLs are from the other build. So what we have done is like if you take this one, probably this has the build 2, wherein we have added the validation of whatchamacall of the credit card. So if the credit card is not well formed, if it is not a proper credit card, then it will give you an error. So that behavior is in the code of the web service. So if you want to go with the proper credit card numbers, these are the proper credit card numbers that where is that in the Excel document. So you can try that in the next class, or if you want, I can send you the Excel. If you want to keep like a couple of steps ahead of us, then I'll share with you the Excel. You could do that. Your voice is breaking up, so
Can you send me the Excel if you don't mind?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
You're welcome. Devi, you have a question? I will unmute you. Go ahead. One second, Devi. Okay.
Since you're mentioning that, can you hear me, Irfan?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
So you were mentioning that you're going out of town, and Selenium weekend, Saturday, Sunday classes, are you going to take?
No, we will do it. We will do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so that's about it. I am done here for today. So again, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you folks next Tuesday, and we will do a lot more SoapUI starting from next Tuesday.